Okay, welcome to episode 5 of 1 to 64 scale RC Drift projects. My hamster passed away today, so I found some motivation to make another video. So I'm going to try to make another video. You see the door falling off on that, I got to fix that. Anyway, so this will be my first attempt at making a diorama. I don't know anything about this kind of stuff, and I'm not usually a very handsy person. You know, I do a lot of Dremel work, but this is like very, you gotta take your time with this kind of stuff, and so you gotta really be patient, and I'm not used to that, so we'll see how this goes. But here's my starting point. I have this block with 2 trees that looks sick for pictures. I got the 2 Nissans up there with the Dash 64 and the DKR. Yeah, so I say this is what I want because it is cool for pictures, but I want this to be as easy as possible, as storable as possible, as portable as possible, and as cheap as possible. So I got this at Hobby Lobby. I think it was 13 bucks. And then I picked up this pack of grass mat for $6.49. So yeah, basically here's my plan. I want the 2 trees right here at the bottom corner, and then I want the mat to surround the border and make basically just an empty lot in the middle for drifting. Not track style drifting, but just takeover style donuts. It's cool to take videos for me, and this is my first diorama, so I want it to be as easy as possible. So yeah, I want to put this on the border, surrounding the border, and leave the 2 trees there for pictures and cool stuff. And then I think my first plan of action is to remove about half the material of the width of the base, because it is too high for the border, and I want the transition from this to the mat to be as seamless as possible, and the mat is very thin. So I need to take a material off of this. That's my first plan of action. And then I'm gonna put the mat on the surrounding border and see if I can make it look okay. It's gonna be a lot of work, but that's my first plan. And I think if I just take my time, I can do it. So we'll see how it goes. So here I start by removing the cars that I had on there just to take pictures for, and then removing the trees, which are, they're very easy to remove, which is cool. It's going to make the diorama much more portable in general. I can just stick the mat to the chalkboard, and then I'll be able to remove the trees whenever I want to put the board away, and I'll be able to put it up vertically instead of having to have it horizontal all the time, because the trees won't be sticking out all the time. So that's sick. And yeah, like a freaking Neanderthal, I started ripping the mat off of the bottom of the base with my hands, not realizing that like I have box cutters in the next room over. That's when I realized that, so I started using that, and it immediately started going much better. The cuts were so much cleaner with the box cutter than me just ripping it off. In the end, it's not going to be level or even, but it's a mound of dirt. So as long as it doesn't come above the border of the chalkboard, I'm fine with that. And yeah, the end result, basically, yeah, it ended up coming out so that it doesn't come above the border. It is a little uneven, but it's going to be completely fine for what I need. It's completely okay. And in this next little bit here, you will see the end result. Just give it a second. So yeah, here we go. As you can see, it doesn't raise above the border of the chalkboard now. The trees can go on and off. Okay, time to clean up the styrofoam from the base of the tree. Okay, so here's the grass mat that I got at Hobby Lobby. I believe it was $6.49. At first, when I laid it out on the chalkboard, I was worried that it was going to be enough to cover the entire border, but I've always been horrible at logistics and math. It's clearly enough to cover the border if I just cut it into strips, and that is what my genius brains ends up thinking of doing. Now, I will not lie, I'm so impatient, and I started to try to cut the mat with the box cutter while I was on the chalkboard, and I was like, immediately, I was not immediately. Eventually, I was like, okay, I'm gonna mess up this chalkboard, so let me just do it off the screen. So I ended up just doing a little bit off screen, a little bit on screen. So if there's some cuts, that's what that is. But this part here was pretty easy. I wanted a nice fat part next to the 2 trees. There's that. I just want to set it up a little bit. And instead of a permanent fix right now, I'm just putting the cars on there to weigh them down and keep them flat because they do like to curl up. But it's not the end of the world. I think the super glue that I'm going to use is going to be perfect for, actually actually sticking it to the chalkboard. I don't know why my brain thought of adhesive, but yeah, so there we go. Now we start cutting into strips. Using the flat border of the mat to just line up straight with the border of the chalkboard. Another strip here. It wasn't long enough to meet the end of the chalkboard from the one side, but it's fine. I just needed to do the other smaller side and then just some filler pieces, which is not hard. And yeah, so that's what I'm gonna do. So yeah, this is pretty much the end of the rough draft, the POC, proof of concept. After this, I'll put some video of me sliding the cars actually, but this is exactly what I wanted. I wanted just a kind of a mini parking lot next to some nature. It's cool for pictures and also good for some takeover style donut sliding. I love it. I like the way it came out. It's not perfect yet, obviously, but I have to glue things down, and then I want to cover up the seams between the parts of the mats with some bushes or something. So yeah, I'm just going to take a look at some different 1:64 scale items that I can use to make this diorama look cooler. But so far, the outcome of what I tried, I think it went perfectly, considering my skill level with this kind of work. But yeah, I have all of the borders with grass. I have the two little trees there where I'm going to take pictures, and there's plenty of room to drift. I can take the trees off and it'll still be completely flat, in which I can, store the board vertically instead of having to keep it horizontal or flat all the time. And I can put the trees on and take them off whenever I want. So yeah, here I am just cleaning up some of the dust because cutting up the stuff was, I don't know, it caused a lot of dust. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up here and then enjoy some sliding video at the end and some cinematic video. Thanks for tuning in, and next video I'll finish everything up by gluing things down and adding some bushes. Thank you.